My name is Aaron McDowell, and in the next coming weeks I'm going to start my junior year at Kansas State University, and I'm majoring in mechanical engineering. And this summer I was an engineering intern with Nex-Tech, and Jeremy Rumbach was ostensibly my supervisor, but in all actuality I had many different people looking over my shoulder and helping me out as I was bounced around various locations within the engineering department. It was always part of his plan to do so I could gain a more comprehensive picture of what all the engineering department does and see how all the pieces fit together. And so my first 2 weeks I was in the Hill City office in a cubicle between my dad, who works in accounting with Nex-Tech, and my brother, who, yeah, that's 2 more McDowells than any company needs. And my brother, who was also an engineering intern after a job opening suddenly opened up. It wasn't really planned or anything, but that's just how it happened. And Derek Summers, he taught me just enough about M4 Solutions in order for me to, which is a CAD program with fiber mapping. He taught me just enough about it for me to start my first task, which was going along the toll route and editing the databases of the fibers on the toll route in order for them to reflect the most current information. And so that entailed assigning the fibers sizes, types, owners, etc., and also occasionally changing the layers of the fiber was on, as well as modifying the path of the fiber. And there's sort of a screenshot of what I was working with. There's the NOR exchange. I was doing it for all the exchanges that Nex-Tech services, which are quite a few, and I don't know if you can see it, but the dark red fibers are the toll route that I had been working on. And then the next 2 weeks had me waking up at 5:30 in the morning to go and get ready and join the construction crew out in Waukene. And they were working a couple miles out of Waukene in the country in a FTTH project, which is just stands for fiber to the home. And I rode with the inspector, and the construction crew, they were plowing fiber, which is, you can see that on the picture on the left. And they also did some bores across rivers and roads, and that's a bore machine on the right, as well as the construction crew I was with. They weren't the drop crew, but they still did plenty of drops, and a drop is just bringing a fiber to the house. And as my job with the inspector, I would go and collect the fiber numbers at the bore locations and houses and PEDs, and I would record them in staking sheets, as well as stake where PEDs were to be located for where the construction crew was to place PEDs, as well as make bores and also flag culverts and whatnot, so they didn't accidentally run into them with any of the machinery. For almost the entirety of the 2 weeks I was with the construction crew, it was over 100 degrees, so it was rather unfortunate timing. I did hear multiple times some pearls of wisdom from many members of the construction crew to get a desk job. And weeks 5 through 6, I was splicing with J.J. Haynes. And the splicing is basically just taking 2 fibers and then you splice them together and then it's one. And so that doohickey there on the screen does most of the work. What we basically do is the fibers are in the cables that the construction crew plowed, and we go to the PEDs and the NID boxes at the houses, And we would prep them by getting the fibers out of the cables. And then once we had the fibers, we would strip off the coating and clean the ends with rubbing alcohol, and also make sure to cut it flush and to the correct length, and then we could place the two ends into that machine. And there's definitely a learning curve to it, because it has to be just right or else the machine won't splice correctly. I know I was fortunate enough to do quite a bit of splicing with JJ, and the first several times I got all sorts of errors, like the shear angle was too large, or the fiber was too dusty, or there was a bubble in the fiber, but I eventually got the hang of it. And also with JJ, I learned what to do if a deer kamikazes into the side of your truck, which was some practical experience I was not anticipating. And week 7, I just went back to the Hill City office and finished up the toll route that I had been working on and all the exchanges. And then in week 8, I was here in the Lenora offices, and I was working with Dan Wallmeyer, and he had me work with the MLX routers again in 4 solutions. And that also tied in directly to what I was doing with the toll route and the toll fibers, because I was making circuits by connecting the toll fibers to the MLX routers, and I was placing the cards and ports and connecting them to the patch panels. And you can sort of see what I was working with in M4 on the left, and then what an actual MLX router looks like if you were to walk into one of our central offices and unplug everything. And well, last week and the rest of this week, I've been back in Hill City linking fibers to houses under Derek Summers again, and that's not really deserving of much talk. It's not very menial work, so I guess I'll just wrap it up with my final thoughts. And yeah, as someone who's majoring in mechanical engineering, it was very informative to come over here and learn about an entirely different discipline in engineering than what I was used to. There's not really a whole lot of similarities between mechanical engineering and the telecommunications engineering side, but it was very informative, and I thought it was a great chance to broaden my knowledge base and skill set. And I'm just very grateful for this opportunity that I was presented.